All right, we're back. We're going to start with our first Q&A panel. We have some special guests here with us to take your questions live. Post your questions to Twitter throughout the show using hashtag VS2015. Channel 9 viewers, simply type those questions into the live Q&A form below the player. We'll try to get as many of them as we can here in the next 20 minutes. Here to discuss what we just watched and more, our Senior Program Manager, Donovan Brown, founder of the Humanitarian Toolbox, Richard Campbell, and Program Manager, Zlatko Knežević. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
First time. Gentlemen, welcome.
Got in a huff.
So for some of you, this is the first time you're watching this.
It is for me.
What'd you think?
I was shocked I was in it so much.
Oh, well, you have a face for camera.
I suppose I do, but it's neat to see it all come together. I mean, we have so much value to add to a software project, regardless of what it is that you're working on. It was really neat to see it.
So let's start over here with you. Tell us a little bit more about the Humanitarian Toolbox and this application.
So we started Humanitarian Toolbox about 3 years ago, and my big concern was, I know lots of developers that want to give to charity and they prefer to use their skills, but we all know that software is not free.
Yeah.
You know, it's free like a puppy. And so how do you actually build software that helps the charity and doesn't punish them in the process? And so for us, that was going open source and being able to allow multiple contributors, let anybody use it, really be multinational, like pick no winners. Everybody can contribute, everybody can benefit from the software. And we take care of all the detail work of how do you actually sustain software over time. The Already project came from the Red Cross. So, you know, one of the things we've learned over the years is the important part is to find the right sponsors, you know, a particular case. We're going to think bigger than that. You know, we started with a really simple thing, really, just getting smoke detectors into people's homes, because that saves lives. It's not really sexy, you know, it's not running into a burning building, but it is doing the important thing. If you can get people out before they burn, there's a lot less drama and, you know, people live. But getting the smoke detector in the right place for the right people with the right help, that's a bunch of pieces, and doing that by hand takes a lot of time. It's not a hugely complex piece of software, but if you get it right, it can make a tremendous amount of difference.
So it really didn't come out exactly in the video what it does. So what does it actually do?
So there are smoke detectors, right, being donated by various organizations. There are homes that don't have smoke detectors, but installing them takes a certain amount of skill. And so what the Red Cross has been amazing at doing is really bringing up a volunteer army of folks that are willing to go in and mount the smoke detector properly in the right location in the house, give the best chance people are going to survive if there's a fire. So now you've got that combination of, we do a social media campaign or some kind of event to let people know, if you don't have a smoke detector, we can get you one. And then when somebody says, okay, yes, I'd like one, how do I find a volunteer nearby that can actually make that installation? So it's a little bit of geo-coordination, working with phones so that it's easy. You know, the trick to successful volunteerism, make it really easy to get to the stuff you actually want to do. And so the software just sort of smooths that whole process out, makes it really easy to find the volunteer, find the location, get the product in place. But now start thinking a little bit about that app. I mean, smoke detectors is one thing, but name something. There's all kinds of stuff that this could be used for.
Right. It's pretty cool. I mean, how wide of a berth you can use. You can do this for anything, really.
Absolutely.
So there's questions coming in. Again, if you want to submit the questions on Channel 9, you can do that, or hashtag VS2015. The first is, where is a single place where we can go to see all enhancements and changes to VS2015 in a single, easy-to-digest list? They're telling me if you go to visualstudio.com, news section and release, you'll find everything there. Here's another question that's coming from Larry. Did the team just use tasks/bugs to assign work, or actually work with Kanban? If yes, how does Kanban help with such a small project? So it felt like you, Zlatko, kind of organized everything. Maybe you can answer this question.
So we did work with tasks, but we also used Kanban extensively. So what Kanban really helped us do, as you can see in the video, is it helped us see in those 3 hectic days, let's say hectic days of coding, it helped everyone see what's the current burn down rate. It also helped us all see who is overloaded, who maybe self-assigned a lot more tasks than they can actually achieve, or help me, for instance, see and redistribute tasks in that case. So yeah, we used Kanban a lot during those 3 days.
It was pretty cool because right when we showed up, there was just a lot of stuff already sort of assigned. Did you do some pre-work?
So yeah, I pre-created the what's called a product backlog item. Essentially, in Agile, that would be a user story. I'm sucker for those, how should I say, textbook user stories.
Nice.
As a type of user, I want to do X because I want to achieve something else. So I created those, and then I created really rough tasks. And then because we had 3 days, I really didn't want to go and assign tasks to people. People really self-assign tasks based on their preference and based on their really expertise.
I see.
I only stepped in when I saw that someone was overloaded, which Kanban makes it really, really easy to see and reassign some tasks to take the load and pressure off a single individual.
So we only had 3 days, right? There's no way we could use the full gamut of everything Visual Studio Online could give us. And maybe this goes along also with the question, how much is Kanban customizable with comparison to backlogs and tasks? And also for you, Donovan, there were some things we weren't using that maybe we could have used.
A little bit. As far as the customization goes, we've done a lot to allow you to customize what shows up on those little tiles that you have on your Kanban board. You can control what lanes you want to have and even what the WIP limit is on each one of those lanes. So we've also done some things to basically maximize the real estate so that we're not wasting a lot of space and you can see more information and have a higher density of information on those boards. We were using quite a bit, though. We were using the work item tracking. We were using our automated build. We also have a release tool that's built in. We weren't using that at this particular point. So what I like about VSO is that we have the largest breadth offering of anyone in the industry when it comes to helping you drive an enterprise level DevOps pipeline. And we used a lot of it, but in 3 days, it's even harder to get a lot of that stood up. But.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Right.
What were some things that you saw that we weren't? I know there was some counts or some charts that weren't lighting up. What was it that we were missing?
One of the things is that I don't remember on the first day the tasks didn't have estimates put on them, right? And that really drives a lot of your burn down. So if we don't have estimates, then some of those charts just don't light up. But using Kanban, it's more of I just want to see if this is in the proper state or not, if it's done and doing, and I can pull it forward. So depending on how you run your teams, if you're a pure Kanban, you're probably not going to be doing a lot with hours anyway. If you come from old school like I am, I'm a really pure Scrum hours guy, then I would have been saying I need those hours so I can see my burn down.
The Kanban board on the Surface Hub was so awesome.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful experience. It really is. And it was the first time I got to play with a Surface Hub, and it was like, wow, I mean, these are even cooler when you can actually just touch them with your hands versus manipulating it with the mouse is what the majority of us do. So it's a fantastic tool set. And we're taking in the input that we get on how did it feel using it on a Surface Hub and how can we improve our product to make sure it does what we need it to do.
So my sense here is that there's really a number of ways that you can use VSO when doing. You talked about Kanban, and you talked about Scrum. Are there any other ways to run a project that you can do with VSO?
Oh, absolutely. Out of the box, we actually give you 3 standard templates. One of them is a CMMI template for if you're a traditional waterfall company, not quite ready for Agile. We have a template that's catered for you, and we'll use the verbiage and the vocabulary that you're expecting. For example, requirements and risk and things that you aren't going to hear if you're using a Scrum or an Agile template, where we're expecting to see things like product backlog items and sprints and iterations. So the tool is very customizable, but out of the box can come catered to run a waterfall team, a Scrum team, or an Agile team.
So what did you observe about, because I built the product once a long time ago and they still call me and it's cool to have my baby being used.
For sure.
What was it like to watch people use VSO? What are some things that you learned about it?
What I learned about it is that we need to do a better job of actually explaining all that it can do. As you mentioned, we didn't use all of it, and there could have been other portions that we might have been able to take advantage of, but we're not doing a good enough job making sure you even realize that functionality was available to you. Our build system was a surprise to some of the individuals that I was showing it to. They were like, wow, I didn't know our build system was able to do that. I didn't understand how the capabilities map to demands. I'm thinking, man, I'm failing then if you don't know how cool our build system is.
Yeah, and it was cool because it seemed like the build system was completely customizable.
It is.
You could run command line things and then it would do it.
It could do any. I always say the mantra is if you can show me a command line, I can run it during our build. And what's nice is that mantra is also true in our new release system that's coming out as well. Anything that can be done from a CLI can be done during our build.
That's awesome. So Zlatko, it felt like you kind of took charge and sort of moved the masses. It was like Lord of the Flies in there. Seriously. What was it like?
Really?
There were some deaths. No, there weren't. So what was it like in the actual environment once you got with all the devs? Was it hard to, because when you start a project, there's always this weird ramp up time. How fast did it take to get people ramped up and going?
Well, it all depended essentially on which piece of the app people worked on. Some people had a little bit more ramp up. When I say a little bit more, that is usually hour, not not hours even. Yeah. But in general, everyone really speedily took on the tasks that they saw fit to do. there wasn't really that much ramp-up time. I mean, in general, Visual Studio as a set of tools, coupled with VSO for project management, really does not, how should I say, require you to do a lot of ramp-up to start using them. There's no a huge, steep learning curve. I'm talking like a guy who actually still uses VI for code editing.
Oh, you're old school.
That's a steep curve.
Yeah,
it's almost like a cliff, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing like that here. So there wasn't really that much ramp up. It was, however, very, very important to have the tasks out there, because although people would think like, oh, 3 days, it's really hectic. Why would you need tasks? Just code, just churn, just get it out there. But it's very important for people to coordinate, and so they know they are not stepping on each other's toes, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important to realize that. And also the product backlog, what it really does, it gives you an overview of what is the end goal, right? What is it that you want to build? So when you read through those user stories, you want to feel that for that sprint, that is for the entire product, but also for the sprint, you want to feel that, okay, now I know what I'm building. So now I know what I'm going to.
So did everyone like self-organize, or would you say these are the web people, these are the mobile people, these are the...
Well, obviously we had people who were more experienced in building the mobile app. We had people who were more experienced in building the database stuff, web API stuff. So we kind of like grouped them according to that. And I was a joker, essentially. I know everything.
Everywhere.
So what did you notice about the development, like how everything sort of came together as you were watching the first day?
I was stunned, having built a lot of software over the years. I mean, with only 3 days, just getting the infrastructure right. They were trying to bootstrap everything at once. The infrastructure was coming together at the same time that folks were working through their stories, the whiteboards were being filled, so it came together really, really fast. But you sort of have the fun of, this was a really experienced team.
Yeah.
Like they may not all work together. They were all volunteer. They came from different parts inside of Microsoft. They knew a lot about building software. So I really enjoyed watching Ryan Lauterbach hammer away at a UI experience. He sat and talked to Jim from the Red Cross, and they sort of looked through how do people think about this software, how would they want to interact with it. It happened so fast. By the end of the first day, so much was figured out, and it was just code faster. There's more to do.
Here's a really good question from Chris. How would a volunteer fire company get involved in using Already to distribute smoke detectors? See that? That's a good question.
Yeah, there you go. And as I understand it from talking to the Red Cross folks, it's often the volunteer fire department folks that are doing the installations. Now, a few things to know. I mean, Already's had 3 days of intensive development, but it is an open source project on HTBox now. We are planning additional codeathons. There's more code to be written. So this is not a product in the field yet, right? We've gone through the first iteration. There's more to be built. The Red Cross is heavily involved with distributing smoke detectors. Every house fire that happens anywhere in North America, and I think the larger world, the Red Cross goes to that. It's a volunteer that shows up with blankets and teddy bears and phone numbers, the things you need to know, that you're not thinking about while your house is burning. And so while they're there, they can provide an awful lot of help. And they're deeply involved in all that in all organizations. So anybody who wanted to be involved with this, talk to the Red Cross first. There'll be more to come from us. We're still in the early days right now for this project. But as it comes along, we'll need all the volunteers we can get.
Aren't we going to be working on it soon in a conference coming up in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, we're still nailing down all the details. But that conference in Wisconsin Dells, and that's the second week of August. I don't remember exact dates. I think it's the 10th to the 12th. No. The weekend before. So that conference has been going on about 5 years. And they've always had a big volunteer component. Before the show starts, when there's pre-cons and things going on, they'll write some software that helps the people. They've done it in lots of different forms, and they've been involved with the Humanitarian Toolbox since the very beginning. So we'll be working on Already and probably a few of the other projects that weekend before the conference.
So if you want to actually play with the code that I didn't write, I kind of just messed everybody up. I was the guy that came and ruined your productivity every couple of seconds. But if you want to work on that code, we can look at it at that conference.
You can look at that conference. You can look at it right now. It's on htbox.org.
Thank you.
Right? And we put it on GitHub. No surprises. github.org/htbox. The project's there. There's a backlog of work items waiting to be picked up and worked on.
That's awesome. Here is Rick from Twitter saying, it's great to have a build expert at your disposal. Where can we learn more about those capabilities?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, and it should have launched today. I just did a on-demand Connect video about our build system, so that video is going to be launching soon, and it'll show you some of the cool new features. I just recorded an MVA on Friday that is a deep dive on build. Right, so it's in the can right now, trying to be edited and polished. So hopefully we'll have it out in a few weeks, so that you can we go through every tab of every functionality of build. So you'll be able to see it hopefully very, very soon.
Awesome. So Zlatko, tell us a little bit about the application itself. Was it a standard kind of application, one that people build all the time?
Well, it was a pretty standard architecture that we did. We used the new ASP.NET 5 web API to build a set of APIs. We had a mobile app, and we also had the web front end working. It's generally using most of the well-established MVC paradigms that are out there. The mobile app is built using the Cordova tools, so that's pretty sweet. I learned a lot about how to do that, actually. I didn't even know what Cordova was before I started. So,
But you can see why in this scenario, when I have volunteer phones, like we don't know what phones you're going to get for whoever's in any given location and wants to support. Cordova has such a broad support of different phone devices.
That it does. It's definitely much better to actually code in one place and then run on all those phones than actually code a specific app for every single device. In this kind of scenario. It would be really, really very hard to do. So for front end, we essentially used HTML5, all of the nice stuff like Knockout. We didn't really go the SPA route because we didn't really feel the need that at this point the application didn't warrant that. However, given that we have a full set of APIs backing it over REST, I'm thinking that if somewhere down the line we decide to move to an SPA kind of an architecture, it would be really easy to do with Angular.
You almost see that with an admin client. You know, some of the back-end processes, things, preparing new campaigns, things like that would make a lot of sense as a SPA.
That it would, yes, I guess. So I can always contribute that on GitHub. So
I hope it's on GitHub, right? Yeah. So we only had 3 days to actually work on this stuff. How much realistically did you feel we would get done?
Well, realistically, what I wanted to do, and I wanted to actually follow the tenets of Agile methodology in general. What I wanted to do for Sprint 1, which was the sprint of those 3 days, I wanted to have an end-to-end scenario of people signing up, volunteering for an activity, and an administrator actually assigning tasks from that activity to the volunteers for them to do. And we actually got that accomplished. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, okay, so we tend to be fairly siloed when we work on our piece of code, right? We know our piece of code at work. What were some things you learned about some of the other products at Microsoft during this process? We'll start with Donovan.
When you're working in a scenario like that, where your head's down and you only worry about your thing, it can really get us into a lot of trouble when it's time to integrate, right? So I was asked to come in the second day, but I actually showed up the first day to help you get build in place, because having that continuous integration that takes those silos and forces them together lets you know very early on if you guys are on the same page or not. So it was really important for me to show up as soon as I could and start helping you guys get your build going, so that you wouldn't run into a situation on the third day of, now let's put it all together and nothing wants to play with each other.
Was it pretty hard to set that? Because I know when you showed up, we called you because we actually needed help. Sure. What was the nature of the problem?
A little bit of a misunderstanding. Our new build system is completely new, right, from the ground up. And there was an attempt to queue a build to a pool that just simply didn't have any agents in it, right? So the pool was there, and we were targeting that pool, but there were no agents in the pool. So it was just a misunderstanding of what needed to be put in place for those builds to actually trigger. And not only the scenario was that they'd created their own pool, but we also have hosted pools for you in VSO already that have build agents waiting to do your bidding. So I said, well, why are you guys trying to stand up your own agent? Let's just use the agents that we host for you, and the build immediately took off.
That's cool. So a question from online, is it possible to load custom tasks into the new build system? And I think we had to do that.
Actually, we didn't have to, and the answer is yes, you will be able to. The tool that you use to upload that is not ready for public consumption yet, right? So we're polishing that tool that will allow you to take the task and upload them. Our task library is completely open source, so you can actually go and download and see exactly how we've written all the tasks that we already have in the library and use those as templates to write your own. Being on the product team, I've obviously written some of my own and gone through that process. It's extremely easy, and anything that you can imagine, you can write as a task. And even without that functionality, we have these two, what I call catch-all tasks. One of them will run any PowerShell you give it. And another one will run any PowerShell you want against Azure if that you give it, right? So do I have to go write my own custom task? No. You can get everything done using the tasks that we provide. But I kind of like to be able to just drag and drop that reusable functionality. So I can anticipate a lot of people wanting to do what I've done, which is write your own custom task. So we're going to make that available for you.
Awesome. So Zlatko, you're next. What did you learn outside of the scope of what you do here at Microsoft?
Well, I learned a lot about Cordova tools. That's the part that I didn't know about. I learned a lot about how well it integrates with Visual Studio. The idea that I can just select a device, run F5, debug it was really good. Other than that, what Donovan actually taught me a lot was about the build stuff. I used to know a lot about it, but apparently I forgot in the process. So getting old does that to you. Anyway, and I learned a lot about our ability to actually do continuous integration builds and push that to Azure and how to get that end-to-end flow going. So.
All right, well, thanks. All right, we'll leave it with you. Tell us more about what we can do with Humanitarian Toolbox, and I'll give you the last 30 seconds, my friend.
Nice. So Humanitarian Toolbox is a 501c3. That's a U.S. Registered charity. All of your donations are tax deductible. You can go to hdbox.org/donation. And in fact, when Microsoft has a share program. So if you donate an hour to us, Microsoft will also donate on your behalf.
Correct.
And a lot of big organizations do this now. So I know that software developers like to be able to contribute, to take their skills on. I mean, that's what we were all about here. But if you actually plug into the process a bit more, think through what can be done, talk to your organization, talk to your teams. We have a lot of software to build in a lot of different ways, and we'd love to get your help.
Well, thanks so much. We're going to wrap it up, and we're going to the next episode. So let's roll the video.